This is a little extra demonstration to show you how you can do some rendered images to show off if you're doing a model and you want to make a JPEG or a GIF or whatever file format. One of the ways is that you can take a screen capture and you can capture your screen and bring it into Photoshop, make it into a JPEG or whatnot, and send that off. Another way, which kind of saves you a couple of steps, is to render it right in Maya, and you can just kind of compose your shot into your view window here, which is the perspective view, and you can make a render that will be saved as a JPEG. One of the things I want to point out, if you're going to do rendering this way, is Maya will open up default and it'll have default lighting, and you can see if the default lighting is enabled, and it should be enabled by default. And you go to Window, Rendering Editors, Render Settings, and if you scroll down to the bottom here, usually this is closed up, so you have to open up the Render Options, scroll down a little bit, and make sure that Enable Default Lights is checked, and that will give you some default lighting. If this is not checked, you will have to add your own lights, and that takes a little bit of lighting skill and another process which we won't go over right now, we'll go over later. The other thing is that you want to make sure is that you have the right camera renderable, and it defaults to the perspective camera, which is this is the perspective view. So when we do a render, it's going to render whatever the perspective view. Otherwise, it's going to render like the rendering camera or your scene camera, which we haven't set up here. But for now, we're just going to use the perspective view. So all we do, this is going to be pretty easy, is we will compose our shot here. The shot will render out just a little bit bigger than what we see here, and that's fine. And up at the top here in our top menu bar, you will see some icons, those little clapperboard looking icons up here, and there's a few of them. And then there's the second one from the left, which is a little bit bigger than the one that's to the far left, is render the current frame in Maya. And if you press that, it's going to give you a render view just like that. It's going to render this image here, and you can look at that and go, oh, okay, that's pretty good. And if it's not exactly what you want, you just close that out and you can recompose your shot. Let's do it just a little bit closer here, spin it around, compose your shot, and then you would render out your frame, and that's the frame I want to render out. And this is the one I want to save off and send off to be posted and graded. So you have this here, and all you do is you go up to the top menu here, File, Save Image, and it'll bring you to this Save Image window. The first thing you want to do is you want to save it as a specific file type. It's going to default to alias PIX, but you can make it a JPEG or a PNG. JPEGs are usually pretty good file type to email. And then you want to give it a name. I want to talk a little bit about naming conventions. A good naming convention, if you're naming any file, whether it's a Maya file or image file, it's good to give it something that makes sense. And I'm going to start with my last name, the person that made this, underscore. Let's give it a title, or the you can give it the name of the assignment. So let's just call this Goon Render. That is the name of the character, and it's a render. And give it a version. So this is the first one, so this is version 1. And so we have a file type JPEG, we have file name Burns Goon Render, and we want to save it to the desktop or whatever folder. I'm going to save this to my desktop, and we save it, and it's saved. We can close this out. We go to the desktop here, we open it up, and there it is. And then you can just email this file off to be looked at onto Critique Zone or wherever, and that just gives you a nicer render than just a screenshot. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please let me know.